Insight requires context. It requires reflection. It requires conversation.
And most importantly, it requires the human connection. People who help students move beyond simply knowing more towards understanding themselves better.
Absolutely. And that is who we are, want to be, and must be. Counselors, educators, mentors, all united for a cause, all together on this beautiful journey.
This year also marks a tremendous and invaluable milestone. 10 years of the IC3 movement. I think we need a round of applause for that. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a decade, and the IC3 movement continues to grow from strength to strength.
10 years of building bridges between schools and universities, 10 years of advocating for student-centered guidance, 10 years of creating opportunities for meaningful conversations across borders and disciplines.
Yeah. Where are we? Okay. This year also marks a tremendous and invaluable milestone, as we just said. Over the past decade, the world of education has evolved dramatically. New technologies have emerged, career pathways have expanded, the pace of change has rapidly accelerated.
And yet, one truth remains unchanged. Students still need guidance, not simply to access information, but to make sense of it.
And that is precisely what the IC3 movement has sought to champion over the last 10 years. Before we look ahead into the future, let us take a moment to celebrate the journey that brought us here.
Every moment has a starting point, a moment where someone decides that things can be different, and more importantly, decides to do something about it.
For IC3, that moment began with a question. What if counseling could reach each and every student? 10 years later, that question continues to shape everything we see here today. Mr. Ganesh Kohli has spent the past 3 decades reimagining how education can help people realize their fullest potential, not only through academic success, but through counseling, well-being, and living with purpose. Driven by the vision of counseling in every school, he founded the IC3 movement, which today brings together educators, counselors in universities, and institutions across more than 90 countries. As chair of the Board of Trustees of the IC3 Institute, president and chief mentor of KIC Universist, and co-founder of the AHA movement, Ganesh continues to champion an education ecosystem that places equal importance on student success, human connection, and well-being. Through his talks, yes, let's hear it for him. And a whistle, wonderful. Through his talks and conversations around the world, Ganesh challenges conventional ideas of success and leadership, inviting audiences to think more deeply about purpose, resilience, mindfulness, and the infinite potential that exists within every individual. This year, that conversation finds a new expression, and you'll know this very soon. For Ganesh, education has never been just about preparing students for careers. It's about preparing them for life. To be of service remains his highest aspiration. Please join us in welcoming Ganesh to the stage.
Thank you so much, Nayantara, Parth, for getting us started. I'm very awkward behind podiums. As a fidgety guy, outstanding student in school, always standing outside the class. And I can't be too serious for too long, so if I walk around and fidget around on stage, you have to forgive me. It's just incredible to see this room full of our community, and we're just very, very grateful for all of your presence. I'm an engineer by education, but also by accident. And throughout my school life and my college life, I saw accidents happen with young people. Meant to be somewhere, ended up being somewhere else, constantly struggling. And we began in 2016 out of this survey that we did, essentially of grumpy 35-year-olds on Monday mornings. And we wanted to know why they are grumpy, and we were referring to the Gallup State of the Global Workplace report. And we looked at that report. Can you put my timer here so I don't overshoot, because I can be very naughty with speaking when it... So we found that 86% of the world's working population was actively or passively disengaged at work. And I always wondered, where did this all start? And we actually managed to link that to boredom in schools worldwide. 93% of students worldwide in schools, we discovered, were bored. So the bored kid in school was the grumpy 35-year-old on a Monday morning. And I can see, in this is a house full, how many of us loved it when school shut down? You loved it when school shut down. It rained or something happened. Oh, you were so happy. Just the thought that school shut down also makes you happy. And you know, in those days, we didn't really know, as 7th graders and 5th graders, if somebody died and school shut down, you were happy still. Can you imagine that world where the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex, the thinking brain is developing, where everything could be an adventure? We actually inflicted boredom on young people in schools. And we really set out, everybody thought we were trying to help college applications. That was the myth that took 4 years to clear. What we're really trying to do was to help young people discover love. I taught math, and I saw that when young people loved math, they excelled in math. What we were trying to do is move schools from compliance to creativity, and there were many schools that are doing it. But we then began in our evolution to ask some more fundamental questions, like, since World War II, there's more education, more schooling, more universities than ever. But do we have more peace, more compassion, more love? In fact, it's taboo to talk about love and compassion, and, you know, it's put that all on the side. Let's just feed the intellect. But we're really challenging ourselves. And that's how IC3's mission is moved from counseling in every school to counseling and well-being in every school. So with the decade behind us, well-being comes now to the center of everything that we do. And the mantra that we really look to is to completely own. All of us have feminine and masculine qualities. And the mantra that we really embrace, and IC3 has always been a mission that is born out of the heart. We use our head, we obviously have that we are missing in many ways. We've become such an outward-looking society, and we're encouraging more reflection, more looking within, more taking care of those emotions as young people transition through different periods of their life. And they come out into the world with more peace, more compassion, more love. Now, that would be real success. Not more PhDs, not more engineers or doctors, but for us, that is really what we're trying to cultivate through the work. And the next decade will belong to well-being at the center and counseling around it. We completely marry well-being and counseling. And I just want to acknowledge everybody who's helped co-create this. We talked about this earlier in the week. We learned a lot from our communities around the world, and the concept of Ubuntu from Africa. I am because we are. These kids who performed are from a host school. We have 300 plus host schools around the world who've hosted different IC3 activities. We have hundreds of volunteers, many more wanting to come forth. But we're going to stand out and stand for more love in education, more purpose in education, more compassion in education. And we don't want to regress back to pre-World War II days. We learned certain lessons, but as human beings, we tend to forget them very quickly. And the best place to impart the lessons is in school. So I really welcome all of you to this decade of IC3. While the celebrations go on, I welcome you to this decade of IC3, where we have a Zen den in the Expo area. You can go put on your headsets and feel well. Because when we do well, we may or may not feel well. But if we feel well, we will almost certainly do well. And how educators are feeling in school, how students are feeling in school is important for us. We're trying to enhance the humility quotient, the compassion quotient. We're trying to mitigate this very comparative, competitive environment and say, let's bring our focus on competence. Let's help young people discover their competence. And for that, we need to model. The greatest gift that parents can give their children is to love each other. There's no other way to teach love, about love. You can't teach love, you have to demonstrate it. And the greatest gift that we as educators can give to our students is to actually feel well ourselves. We will model well-being, to be purposeful ourselves. It's a miracle to be alive, my dear friends. All of us sitting on these chairs, blood is flowing 60,000 miles in our veins and arteries, which is multiple times the circumference of Earth. Sorry, the math teacher's awake. It's a miracle to be able to see. It's a miracle to live on planet Earth at this time. We just need to bring that wonder back in every classroom, in every school. And I know many schools around the world are doing this, but we need to bring this wonder back. And through counseling and well-being, what we do is allow students to naturally stay wondrous, stay creative, stay spontaneous, stay optimistic, let go, and build their own life. So thank you for supporting this mission. I'm not individually acknowledging anyone, but I just wanted to say that we have co-created it. And if I can have a big round of applause for all of us co-creating this, You know, we did this together. Nothing happens in isolation. And for the world is looking at what we will do in the next 10 years. And I invite you to join us. Each one of us can be a volunteer. Each one of us can be an IC3 leader. Each one of us can go to different parts of their communities and help bring counseling and well-being to the schools. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kohli. Your reflections remind us that meaningful change begins with a vision, but endures through collective commitment.
The journey of IC3 over the past decade stands as a testament to what can be achieved when educators, institutions, and communities come together with a shared purpose. Moments like these don't happen in isolation. They're made possible by institutions that believe in the same purpose, who don't just support events, but support impact.
We are proud to be hosted by Atlas Skiltech University, an institution that reflects the evolving nature of education today. Now, let us take a moment to see what Atlas is all about. Can we roll the video, please?
Built at the heart of India's financial capital, Atlas Skiltech University was designed for the world beyond it. Founded by one of India's most respected educators, Dr. Indu Shahani, with the ISD School of Design, ISME School of Management and Entrepreneurship, UGDX School of Technology, and the Atlas School of Law. This is the epitome of industry-integrated learning. With classrooms shaped by India's boldest industry leaders and faculty from across the world, students build real ventures under founders who have built India's biggest brands. Atlas students graduate into the world's leading universities and into its most competitive employers. The only university to represent India at NASA 2 years in a row. And the same ambition carries into sport, culture, and competition. The youngest Indian university to be accredited NAC A grade. Top-tier awards and recognitions by Times of India, Times Now, Business World, Republic TV, Marksman Daily, and Education World. Atlas Skiltech University, shaping the leaders of tomorrow.
Our host sponsor, Atlas Skiltech University, has consistently championed innovation, entrepreneurship, and interdisciplinary learning. Dr. Indu Shahani is the founding president and chancellor of Atlas Skiltech University and one of India's most respected educationists with a career in education spanning over 5 decades. Her leadership extends across education, public policy, and civic life. She founded Atlas Skiltech University to reimagine higher education itself, shifting it from the pursuit of degrees to the mastery of skills that shape careers, industries, and the nation's future. Dr. Shahani served as principal of HR College of Commerce and Economics, leading it to national distinction. She was the first Indian to serve as vice chair of the Board of Governors of the International Baccalaureate, a former member of the University Grants Commission, and the first academician and woman to be appointed Sheriff of Mumbai, serving 2 consecutive terms, where she launched pioneering initiatives for women's safety and civic engagement. She carries the educator's conscience into the boardrooms of HSBC Asset Management, Philips, and Lighthouse Learning, and has served on the boards of Indian Oil Corporation, Colgate-Palmolive India, Bajaj Electricals, and Franklin Templeton Trustee Services, among others. Having empowered lakhs of students and parents and mentored a generation of leaders across business and the arts, Dr. Shahani today continues to shape youth from 28 states, 440+ cities, and 5 countries through Atlas Skiltech University, equipping young India to build a Viksit Bharat 2047. Please join us in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Shahani and inviting her on stage.
Good morning to everyone, and it's absolutely a pleasure to be here. And I was just looking at the video, and I wanted to tell Justice Chandrachud that we started first with the School of Design, then the School of Management, and then the School of Technology. That's when we realized that law was very important, and you'd be glad to know that we've become one of the youngest law schools now in India. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inspiration. It's indeed a privilege to be here with so many people, all of you here, who have been you're doing the most important responsibility in society, which is shaping young minds who will shape the future. Let me first congratulate Mr. Ganesh Kohli. 10 years. Come on, guys. You need to give a bigger hand for that. 10 years. You know, we've just completed 5 years at Atlas, and we think that we've achieved it. But 10 years is amazing. So thank you for inviting me, and it's absolutely a pleasure to be here. What IC3 has created is much more than a conference. And as I can see from all the principals, educators here, counselors, that it has become a meeting point of educators, counselors, schools, universities across the world. We had about 4 of your universities visit us yesterday from around the world. So we knew IC3 is here. A place where ideas are exchanged, possibilities are discovered, and most importantly, young people are given clear pathways to their future. And the role has never been more important, because today we are standing at the beginning of a profound transformation in education. We speak constantly. Every speech, every person who comes in, every class, every educator speaks about AI, artificial intelligence. But I'd just like to suggest another acronym, and which is HI, which is human intelligence. And I think today, AI can process information, AI can analyze patterns, AI can generate answers, AI can even personalize learning. But human intelligence asks the questions, gives the curiosity, the judgment, empathy, imagination, ethics, and purpose. When I look back at my journey over the years as an educator, and more so currently now at Atlas Skiltech University, with its interdisciplinary education and having all these different management, technology, design, law, everything together, I find that it has been very, very challenging, and the use of AI, I can see, is happening. But I'm going to give you an example. I think everybody should listen to this. And I'm sure all of you have at some time faced students who have challenged you. I was going down the elevator. We are 7 floors. And so the elevator takes a long time to go down. But it's wonderful when you're with students in that elevator. Going down the elevator, a few days back, I met a young student who was not in class. So obviously, I asked him, "Young man, you're not attending the class today?" And he says, "No, my class is in my pocket." What do I do? How do I answer that? It was challenging. Do I shout at him? What do I do? And so I said, quickly thought of something, and I said, "Young man, that is exactly the problem. Information fits in your pocket, but insight does not." To which the young man shyly said, "Ma'am, that's not all that's in my pocket. I have built an app for farmers to get fair prices. My friend and I have built a bot so scholarship forms speak the applicant's own language. And today's assignment was to use camera vision to spot contaminated water before anyone gets sick. I was speechless. What do I say to a student? How difficult I can understand. You can realize how difficult educators, school leaders, counselors, university leaders, what an important role you have to play today to challenge students like this. How did I challenge him? And I've just got half a minute to tell you that, Abhinav. I said to him, young man, if you've done so much, will you do one thing for me? I had to give a speech here in Geo to the not the educators, but to the industrialists and to people from different parts to talk about education, where it's going. And I said to him, I have to speak on moving from a chalkboard to a chatbot. How do I do it? So he said, do you have a picture of you near a chalkboard? And I said, yes, I have a picture. Can we see the picture? Do we have the picture here? Yes? Let's see if we can get the picture. So it's a picture of me, that's it. Now this was a picture taken of me when I was the sheriff of Mumbai, and I had a maths board behind me. A lot of students challenged me that you don't teach maths behind you. And I said, I did, and I think Tarun sitting here can recognize this picture. He was in the class at that time. And I said, math, because my math teacher taught me the value of math. He would write so hard on the board that by the end of the class, the chalk would collect there. And I would say, why are you writing this? He said, you have to understand the weight of the board. And so I took this picture. Times of India took this picture during the sheriff. Now, that's the chalkboard. How have we converted it today to a chatbot? This young boy just took this picture from me in the elevator. By the time I was in my car coming here to speak, he had converted the chalkboard into the chatbot with my voice, with my speech, and you have to see how he did it. At Atlas Skiltech University, we've moved from chalkboards to chatbots, reimagining education with AI, innovation, and future-ready learning. That's it. Do you see, from chalkboard to the chatbot? Principals, educators, and counselors, do you realize what a challenge it is? Ganesh, the next 10 years are really going to be challenging for us for guiding our students. So today, more than before, every young person deserves guidance throughout the process of discovering who they are and what they want to become. This is why the year's theme, looking deeply from information to insight, resonates strongly with us. The future may be powered by AI, but it must always be guided by HI. And thank you very much, IC3. It's a really, truly transformative time of the year. All the best to the educators, all the best to the counselors, and thank you, principals. You send us some wonderful students to Atlas. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Shahani. We now give our sincere thanks to our opening plenary partners, RMIT University and Emeritus. Both institutions share IC3's commitment to expanding access to quality education, fostering innovation, and preparing learners to thrive in an increasingly complex world.
Their partnership reflects the spirit of collaboration that lies at the heart of this conference, bringing together diverse perspectives, experiences, and opportunities from across the globe. Please direct your attention to the screen for a video from RMIT University and Emeritus.
You can feel it. That drive to take what you have and launch it to the next level. To harness your creativity, give it form, and set off on your own adventure. To hand the world life-changing technology and green living innovations. Transform business and redefine how the world works. So be hands-on, make it real, because
A sincere thanks to both RMIT University and Emeritus for their continued support of the IC3 movement.
The strength of the IC3 movement lies in the schools that place students at the center of every decision and every opportunity.
Each year, our annual conference is made possible through the partnership commitment of schools that believe in the power of informed guidance and student success.
As the logos appear on the screen, we would like to recognize and thank all our 10th annual IC3 conference host schools for their invaluable support and collaboration.
Please join us in thanking them for their partnership and support.
We are proud to be joined by institutions that share our commitment to empowering students through education and opportunity.
Our first co-host partner is the University of Southampton, a globally respected institution renowned for academic excellence, research, innovation, and student success.
Please direct your attention to the screen for a video from the University of Southampton.
The pace of change is never certain. Sometimes it's a breakthrough. Sometimes it's a question. A moment of doubt. A different way of thinking. Pioneers set on progression with the nerve to see it differently. Curiosity to conviction. The moment of momentum. Because to change the world, we need to change the way we see it.
Our next co-host partner is the University of Western Australia, one of Australia's leading research-intensive universities and a long-standing supporter of the IC3 community.
Through its commitment to academic excellence and global engagement, the university continues to prepare students to make meaningful contributions across industries and society.
Please enjoy this video from the University of Western Australia.
One of the defining qualities of great leaders is their ability to inspire us to think differently about the world around us. Our keynote speaker for today is someone whose career has been marked by intellectual rigor, integrity, public service, and a deep commitment to justice. Dr. Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud served as the 50th Chief Justice of India from November 2022 until November 2024. In a judicial career spanning nearly 25 years, he was the judge of the Bombay High Court, Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court, and a judge of the Supreme Court before assuming the highest judicial office. Educated at St. Stephen's and at the Campus Law Center in Delhi University, he studied at Harvard Law School, where he earned LLM and SJD degrees. One of the most influential jurists of his generation, his jurisprudence consistently expanded constitutional rights by weaving dignity, liberty, and equality into a constitutional framework responsive to contemporary challenges. He has championed gender justice, the rights of persons with disabilities, free speech, liberty, and equality, while also laying down a robust jurisprudence on healthcare rights, pioneering the law on living wills, advance directives, and abortion rights. His thoughtful perspectives continue to resonate far beyond the legal profession, inspiring all of us, educators, students, policymakers, and citizens alike. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our distinct honor to welcome Dr. Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud to offer the keynote address.
Namaskar. Namaskar, and a very good morning to all our distinguished guests from overseas and from India. Thank you very much, Ganesh, for inviting me here this morning, and it's truly a pleasure to be here. We live in a world that comes with instructions for almost everything. A new phone comes with a manual. A washing machine comes with a manual. Even a coffee machine will tell us in considerable detail what it expects from us. The one thing for which we receive no instruction manual is being 17. Being 17 is a unique bridge between childhood and adulthood. It is an age of big feelings, fleeting youth, and standing on the precipice of the rest of your life. And yet, at 17, we are often asked to make decisions that can shape the next several decades of our lives. I began dreaming of becoming an economist and landed up being a judge for 25 years. Let us imagine a student sitting in a library 30 years ago, preparing an assignment on a subject she barely understands. She has been given a question, a deadline, and a library card. She walks between shelves, searches through catalogs, pulls down books, copies passages into a notebook, and after an hour of looking, finds perhaps 3 or 4 sources that might actually help her. If she wants another book, she has to find it. If the book is not in that library, she has to request it and wait. There is something inconvenient about this process, but also something valuable. The effort required to find information made her choose. She had to decide what deserved another hour of her time, what was worth reading, and what could safely be left behind. Now change the library, give the student a laptop, and see what happens. The student is sitting at the same desk. Within a few minutes, 20 tabs are open. Journal articles, newspaper columns, online lectures, a beautifully produced video, a discussion forum, an encyclopedia entry, several websites written with great confidence, and an artificial intelligence tool offering to explain the entire subject in 30 seconds. One search leads to 100 answers. Those answers lead to 1,000 more. After an hour, the student closes the laptop with a peculiar uncertainty. 12 articles, 4 videos, an AI assistant, 6 links saved for later, and no recollection of why the first tab was opened. The student now possesses enough information to hold a small conference and still struggles to write the first sentence of the assignment. So, I wonder whether we have exchanged one difficulty for another. Once the difficulty was finding information, today the greater difficulty now involves deciding what deserves to become knowledge. Human curiosity is much older than the internet. Henry David Thoreau, watching telegraph lines being built across 19th century America, wondered whether our haste to connect one place to another might leave us forgetting to ask whether there was anything worth communicating. The telegraph became the telephone became the internet, and an extraordinary portion of human knowledge now sits within the reach of a student at a desk. The means have changed. The difficulty of knowing what deserves our attention remains. Lewis Carroll had already captured some of this long before any of us had a search engine. In Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Alice finds herself at a fork in the road and asks the Cheshire Cat, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat replies, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice says that she doesn't not much care where she goes, so long as she gets somewhere. The cat tells her that she's sure to do that, if only she were to walk long enough. Our students have more tools and more roads open to them than any generation before them. The harder task is knowing where they want to go. This, I think, is where the conversation about education must become more searching. We often speak of giving young people greater access to information, and rightly so. Information matters, access matters, opportunity matters, and knowledge matters. Around the world, research has repeatedly linked literacy and higher education with greater autonomy and empowerment. But access is only the beginning. A young person may have the whole world at their fingertips and still need guidance in distinguishing evidence from assertion, significance from novelty, understanding from familiarity, and judgment from opinion. There is a 7-year-old boy named Aditya whose story raises another part of this problem. His parents discovered that he had an IQ of 145 and that he was capable of qualifying in an examination 2 grades above his age. They approached his school hoping that his education could be adapted to his abilities. The school did not offer acceleration or the resources he needed. What is striking is that even a child who appears to fit our most celebrated idea of academic success, high ability, excellent performance, exceptional scores, could find the system unable to accommodate him. It leaves us with a more difficult thought. If this is how little room we sometimes make for the child who excels within our preferred measures, what happens to the child whose gifts do not appear in an examination, who struggles with a subject, who hesitates at a debate, who has simply not found the language in which to show what they can do? We often speak of bringing every child into the mainstream. The harder task is making sure that once there, a child does not have to become indistinguishable from everyone else. The problem in our nation, ladies and gentlemen, is that we mainstream everyone. That perhaps is the blessing or the curse, whichever way you look at it, at a country which has fewer resources than the demand for education. The same responsibility arises in the way knowledge itself is made available. A student can encounter thousands of articles in a single search and still find that the journal most relevant to the problem requires a subscription, or that the most authoritative source is beyond what the student can afford. If knowledge is essential to an informed citizenry, its availability cannot rest entirely on the ability to pay. In 2023, the Supreme Court of India, when I was the Chief Justice, made a large repository of its judgments, freely searchable through the e-Supreme Court Reports platform, opening this material to lawyers, students, and the wider public. And we translated every one of the 37,000 judgments of the Supreme Court written since independence into every one of the 22 languages recognized by the 8th schedule to the Constitution. It was one way of using technology to widen access to knowledge rather than merely increase its volume. Similar efforts through open journals, public libraries, and open educational resources point in the same direction. Access matters enormously. What we can do with that access and whether the system can recognize the person making use of it matters as well. On the northeastern coast of Japan, in a small village called Aniyoshi, there stands a 10-foot stone. It's easy to imagine being overlooked, weathered by years, standing above the houses, carrying a warning carved by people long gone. Those words were meant for generations who would never know their authors. They said, "High dwellings are the peace and harmony of our descendants. Remember the calamity of the great tsunamis. Do not build homes below this point." There are many such tsunami stones along Japan's coast, some dating back to disasters that had taken thousands of lives. In many places, their warnings were eventually forgotten as towns expanded and confidence in modern seawalls grew. Aniyoshi remembered. Then came March 2011. An earthquake struck and a great tsunami followed. By then, the children of Aniyoshi had already been taught about the stone at school. They knew what it meant. When the wave came, families left the lower ground and climbed higher. A 12-year-old boy from the village later recalled that his mother collected him from school and the whole village went uphill. That is perhaps the most remarkable part of the incident. The stone had no satellite, no sensor, no computer model. It could not tell them the height of the wave or calculate its speed. It carried something more modest, and in that moment, more consequential. It carried the memory of what had happened before. There's a lesson here that I find difficult to ignore. We have become extraordinarily good at gathering information about the world around us. We can measure the sea. We also know that we have been affected by the El Nino effect of the warming of the sea in the western or the eastern Pacific. So we can measure the sea, map the earth, model the weather, and calculate risks with precision earlier generations could scarcely have imagined. We should celebrate that progress. The people of Aniyoshi did not survive by rejecting modernity. They survived because modern knowledge had not made them forget what earlier generations had learned. Our schools face a similar test. We speak of expanding access to education, but can we readily be satisfied with a classroom and a midday meal when in 2025-26, 105,000 schools still lacked proper toilet facilities for girls, including thousands where no girls' toilet existed at all? So the reality is that so many young girls who get into the menstruating age group drop out of school simply because there's no toilet for them to use in school. 2 weeks ago, I was at a government school about 10 kilometers away from this place at the Aryan High School. And I learned what importance we must give in India to look at the school as a whole. Its sanitation, drinking water, learning spaces, and digital resources. Getting a child into school is only the beginning. What matters is what she finds when she gets there. This is where we see the difference between information and insight. Information tells us what is happening. Insight helps us understand what it means and how we should respond. We can gather countless accounts of the sea, measure its movement, and study its patterns. Knowledge becomes insight when experience, context, and judgment teach us how to read what we find. As our distance from the natural world grows, education must preserve our capacity to observe, to understand, and respond. Above all, in an age of technology, our children must become patient listeners, willing observers, and possess the ability to ask difficult questions, even when they pose truth to power. Learning, however, is not only about what lies on the page. Sometimes a young person needs someone who can recognize what is holding them back and help them find a way forward. Consider a person called Jamie Escalante, the mathematics teacher at Garfield High School in East Los Angeles. He took a group of students towards advanced placement calculus and held classes before school, after school, and Saturdays, much like so many teachers of my own school, Cathedral, and later St. Columbus, who inspired us. When 12 were asked to take it again under supervised conditions, all 12 passed. Escalante chose mathematics, a subject that has frightened generations of perfectly sensible people, and persuaded these students to believe that calculus had a place in their lives. A teacher's expectation altered the horizon his students could see for themselves. They began to look at a subject that had seemed reserved for someone else and ask whether it might belong to them too. This is an important point of guidance and counseling. A student arrives carrying marks, ambitions, family expectations, and a great deal of information about possible futures. What they sometimes need is an adult who can listen carefully enough to discover what lies underneath all of it and help them find the right thing to ask of themselves. Then the mathematician asks us to think about the medieval puzzle of how many angels could fit on the head of a pin. How many angels could fit on the head of a pin? At first glance, it has very little to do with calculus. Angels and calculus may sound like an unlikely academic partnership. But yet a teacher followed the idea anyway. She reads, thinks, pursues the puzzle, and speaks to others. Slowly, the angels give her a way into calculus. As her appreciation of the subject grows, her fear recedes, and the symbols begin to acquire meaning. A few days ago, a small incident in my office brought this home to me. I asked a young colleague to estimate how many pages a book which I was writing would probably run into. The answer came almost at once: 500, 600, perhaps 800. Later, she told me that numbers have always unsettled her and that mathematics was a subject she had struggled with for years. She had answered before giving herself time to think. It made me wonder how easily a hurried mistake can be mistaken for a lack of ability. For some students, anxiety arrives before thought has had the chance to catch up. In one of her early studies, a school teacher gave children a sheet divided into two. On one side, they solved a mathematics problem. On the other, they wrote how it made them feel. Their responses revealed fear of being wrong, embarrassment when others finished first, memories of being laughed at the blackboard, and the belief that mathematical ability belonged to those who were simply born with it. A mathematics problem could reveal far more than whether a child had the ability to decipher it. We spend a great deal of time preparing young people for examinations, admissions, and professions. In smaller towns across India, an entire world has grown around this preparation. Coaching classes, mock papers, hostels, and years spent waiting for the next examination. There are young people who can tell you exactly which test they are preparing for, yet may find it harder to say what kind of life they are preparing to lead. We speak of India's young population as a demographic dividend. The phrase carries promise, but it also carries an enormous responsibility. Education has to prepare a young person for more than the next examination. That responsibility becomes harder when we remember how many children never receive the same opportunity. Around 2 crore children remain outside formal schooling in our country today. 20 million children who lack formal schooling even today. And many of those who do not enter the system will eventually find their way into a labor market very different from the one for which our schools were designed. So in this continuum between the CBSE and the ICSE and the IB and the state boards lies also children who must be brought into even an open school. Some of them will become gig workers. Others will find work in the informal economy. We cannot build an educational system around the child who fits the examination most comfortably and then wonder what became of everyone else. The child who learns differently, the child who leaves school early, the child whose ability never appears in a mark sheet, all of them belong to the future we keep calling our demographic dividend. Let us redefine what we mean by merit. Will merit in our future societies be a product of the marks which our children get in entrance examinations? Or is there something to leadership which lies far beyond the quest for marks and excellence in examinations? We need an inclusive India. We need an inclusive global world where we value our plurality, we cherish our diversity, and hope that we'll bring the last student in the ladder into the mainstream. That experience of education matters too. When education becomes heavily tied to examinations, credentials, and the promise of future security, it can become difficult for a young person to know what learning is for. A student can spend years moving from one examination to the next and still be left wondering where all that preparation is meant to lead. Education should leave room for curiosity, confidence, and the discovery of what one is capable of, alongside the marks and qualifications that open doors. Maybe this is also why our classroom should keep one eye on the country outside the classroom. A school should be a place where a young person hears about what is actually happening around them as part of learning to live in this country. When the Supreme Court or a High Court decides something about a river, a forest, or the air we breathe, the environmental science teacher can bring that decision into the classroom. When a judgment concerns privacy, speech, discrimination, or public institutions, a civics teacher can spend a few minutes asking, what happened? What did the court decide? And whose life might change because of it? The law should become familiar to a young person long before it becomes a problem they have to solve. In conclusion then, let me say this. For those who counsel young people, that may be the harder part of the work. I came across 2 Indian school experiences that made me think about this differently. In one school, counseling initially carried a stigma because students were sent to the counselor when something had gone wrong. That changed as students began to see the counselor as someone they could approach themselves with whatever was troubling them. In another school, a counselor began with 5-minute meetings simply to get to know students and identify who might need more time. With hundreds of students around, good counseling cannot mean an hour for every child. It can begin with making sure every student knows where to turn and that those who need more are given more. That is also where fairness enters our work. The student who comes first in the class may need help. So may the student who has stopped raising a hand, the one who is difficult to read, the one who is struggling academically, or the one who has become so accustomed to managing alone that nobody notices her when something is wrong. Counseling should not become another place where we select the students who seem most promising. Its value lies in making sure that the student who needs to be seen does not disappear in the crowd. Finally, and that's the last word, we're today living in a difficult world, a world faced by uncertainty, a world where our economy is deeply affected by things which are not of our doing. We are affected by the war in the Gulf. The world is affected by Gaza. The world is affected by what is happening in Ukraine. Our children live in uncertain times. What then is the mantra for their future? Now, I'll leave you with this thought. The mantra for our children's future has to be based on twin values. The value of resilience and ultimately the abiding values by which our societies stand. And those values are intrinsically based on compassion, human dignity, equality, and a sense of fraternity. The ability to learn that each of us has a place in a wider ecosystem on this planet, and nothing that happens to one part of our ecosystem, be it the honeybees or the butterflies, leaves us untouched. So it's in this quest for a holistic life that we must encourage our students to navigate an uncertain world, where they will find stability in the inner values which they learn and which the educators of today will give to the children. Thank you very much for hearing me patiently, and my best wishes to IC3.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justice Chandrachud, for giving us so many questions about equity to think about. I'm sure the audience will reflect on this. We have a few questions from our audience, but we'll ask you just two of them, I think. So the first question we have is from Swapna, who's the PGT English teacher at the Air Force School, Coimbatore. Can we get a mic, please? In a world that places so much importance to education and careers, what makes life truly meaningful? What makes life truly meaningful?
I think what makes life truly meaningful is a search for the self. And when I refer to the search for the self, I don't focus on the selfish self, but in the outward self. I always ask myself this question, a question which I learned from a beautiful book by a professor at Stanford, Randy Pausch, who's written this brilliant book called The Last Lecture. And that question which I ask myself every day is that if this indeed were to be the last day of my life, have I left the world around a slightly better place? So what means we achieve, the means which we follow to achieve a sense of self-realization, for some it might be following a path of introspection, meditating upon the self. But as we all learn from the traditional field of knowledge that Indian culture has brought to the world, the paths to self-realization are many. So there's no monopoly that any one path has over the quest for self-realization. But dwelling within, stepping back, focusing on the essentials of a good life, which is compassion to others, respecting others who have different views from us, respecting others who dress differently from us, respecting others who believe differently from us, respecting others who disagree with us, and then trying to draw a synthesis in this very conflicting world, the conflicting world of ideas and opinions, and yet finding space within is, I think, the path to self-realization.
We have one more question for you. That's from Sana Idrisi from Sunbeam International, Varuna. And the question is, in an age where AI can provide young people with endless career information and algorithms increasingly influencing what they see as successful choices, how do we protect a student's autonomy and dignity in career decision-making so that counseling informs a young person without actually quietly deciding for them?
this is a tough one for a person who's not been an educator. I think it's important for educators to focus on individual aptitudes. That's the first thing. The difficulty about AI, and that's not a difficulty in the sense that I criticize recourse to AI, I think we are all part of the movement, is the ability of AI, as indeed the ability of every algorithm, to tell us more of what we want to hear. It doesn't tell us something which we don't want to hear. That's probably what social media does to us. It's constantly pounding you with things which you are eager to hear. And that's where an educator, I think, counts, because the ability of the educator to ask a question which the student necessarily doesn't want to hear, to understand that there may be another pathway than something which appears through a readily accessible source of information, is critical to understanding which way to go. The second thing, and I think that's critical, because I've been deeply concerned about, the number of suicides among young students who, say, failed the NEET examination or the IIT JEE examination. That's the ultimate middle-class dream in India, to send your child to a medical school or an engineering school. Why is this happening? I think that's happening because we place too much of importance on formal sources of learning and achievement, that you must get these marks, you must get this degree. I think success in life lies far beyond the formal parameters in the forms of marks and degrees. Yes, these are milestones along the way. There's so much more to, having a successful life. And the beauty of life indeed is this, that you can be absolutely average as a student, but yet be a brilliant success in life because of your ability to collaborate, your ability to bring people together, the ability to look beyond just yourself and to understand that leading a cohesive, leading a holistic life is truly what brings happiness to human achievement. And I think that's really, therefore, the key. Guide students, don't be dogmatic, and tell students that you would never be wrong. You might decide to do law and then become a graphic designer. That's also a beauty of our times. You might become an airline pilot, as I found that a woman pilot who was bringing me from Chennai to Delhi said, well, I'm actually a gold medalist in the social sciences. So there are numerous pathways open to our younger generation because we live in a world of opportunity. And let's not criticize young people. And that's some message which we have to give educators as well. An educator must also have an open mind and not be dogmatic, because the educator may be more experienced, but there's so much of a world of knowledge, of insight, of vision, which sometimes lies beyond you. And we are surprised by so many younger people with whom we interact. As Indu Shahani ji said, surprised by that young student who was in the elevator. But we also live in a world, by the way, talking of elevators, where a horrendous rape can take place within the confines of an elevator, as we recently got to know a few weeks ago. So in this kind of a world, I think giving values to our children, and I'll leave you with that message because that's the last question. Giving values to our children is going to be the key. 50% of our population consists of women. Our women today are not just entering into avocations which were traditionally meant for women. Our women doctors are not becoming only OBGYNs. They're becoming oncologists. They're becoming neurological surgeons. Our women are on the fighter planes, the Sukhois and the Rafales. They're in the submarines. They're commanding our ships on high seas. But yet we require parents tell a woman when she gets married, oh, well, you must adjust. And what does that really mean? That shows the degree of inner conflict through which our society is emerging. On the one hand, we are moving towards a more gender equal society, but yet we are still constrained by cultural norms which are not willing to accept the full autonomy of a woman. And by a woman, I just don't mean a grown-up woman, but a young woman as well. So recognizing the autonomy of the young, recognizing the autonomy of our students, recognizing the autonomy of our children, of allowing them to pursue their dreams is, I think, critical. A change in mindsets is what is needed.
Thank you very much. Let me continue. A little earlier, you heard Ganesh's introduction end with a rather mysterious promise, which was this year that conversation finds a new expression, and you will know this very soon. Well, the secret is out.
May I invite Ganesh Kohli back onto the stage, educator, counselor, mentor, and as we can finally reveal, author. It is our absolute honor to have Dr. Justice Chandrachud unveil Still Water, Deep Currents, 52 Reflections for a Year of Looking Within by Ganesh Kohli. The book is born out of Ganesh's meditation and life experiences, and at its heart, it is a book about everything living and the possibility of looking within as we navigate it.
Every author has a story behind the book. Ganesh's story, we suspect, has had a very important co-author. Dr. Preeti Kohli has been Ganesh's partner in life and a deep influence on his journey and inner work, as well as a constant source of strength and inspiration. Dr. Preeti, please join us on stage. Dr. Justice Chandrachud and Dr. Preeti, may we now request you to unveil the book. Can we have a round of applause, please? I think you should.
For those who would like to begin their own year of looking within, the book will now be available at the book lounge in the Expo area. Will now be available at the book lounge in the Expo area and at the designated book area outside the venue. Ganesh will also be available to sign a copy today from 2:30 to 3 p.m. and tomorrow from 11 to 11:30 a.m. The book is also now live on Amazon. We hope you choose to pause and spend some time with the 52 reflections. Thank you, Dr. Justice Chandrachud, for those insightful and thought-provoking remarks. Your reflections have challenged us to look beyond information, to think critically, and to embrace the deeper understanding that leads to meaningful action.
We are very grateful for your time, your wisdom, and your contribution to this milestone edition of the IC3 annual conference. To felicitate our keynote speaker, may we invite representatives from Emeritus, Avnish Singhal, and RMIT University, MR Pitt, to join us on the stage, please. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please join us in thanking Dr. Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud. The IC3 movement has always benefited from partnerships that strengthen educational collaboration across countries and cultures. We are grateful for the presence of His Excellency Philip Green, Australian High Commissioner to India, and for his support to international education and collaboration. We would also now like to acknowledge our platinum partners, whose partnership helps make this gathering possible.
Please join us in thanking Whistling Woods International, One Young India, and Universal AI for their continued support to the IC3 movement. A round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen.
We are also delighted to recognize the host institution for the 2026 IC3 Regional Camp.
Please join us again in acknowledging OP Jindal University and thanking them for their partnership and commitment to advancing student success and educational excellence. Thank you. So whether you are a school counselor, teacher, principal, university representative, retired professional, or part of an education-focused organization, IC3 Institute membership provides exclusive access to valuable resources, research, continued professional development, and opportunities for global engagement. For school-based educators, membership also unlocks the opportunity to apply for the IC3 Institute's no-cost training programs, namely Embark, Empower, and Enrich, designed to build counseling capacity and deepen impact in schools. Join the IC3 Institute membership during the 10th annual IC3 conference today and visit IC3 Institute membership activated stations or the IC3 Pavilion to become a member and be a part of our global growing community. We are excited to welcome an estimated 500 new members during the conference. Don't miss the opportunity to be one of them.
I hope you've scanned the QR code. Thank you. As we prepare students for an increasingly dynamic future, innovation and emerging technologies continue to play a vital role in shaping education.
We thank Universal AI for supporting this mission and contributing to conversations around the future of learning.
We are also very happy to announce and introduce Universal AI as the host of the IC3 Institute Residential Week. Please direct your attention now to the screen for a video from Universal AI.
2023 wasn't a response to the AI wave. It was our launch year. Business, design, psychology, music, technology. Every school, every degree, every classroom has AI at its foundation. Our belief is simple. AI belongs to everyone. Universal AI has partnered with the government of Maharashtra. We have partnered with schools and educators. Pan-India, we are working very closely with villagers on educating them on AI. 100% AI, 100% global, a curriculum designed for the world, not just for India. 100% entrepreneurial, 100% sport, 100% fun. The best learning happens when students truly enjoy the journey. Universal AI University, the future is here.
Technology has become an essential partner in helping educators support student well-being, learning, and decision-making.
We would like to recognize our technology partner, AHA Mind Fitness and Ontos Admissions for their support and partnership.
Thank you for helping create meaningful solutions that support students and institutions alike. To commemorate 10 remarkable years of the IC3 movement and in heartfelt admiration of the vision, passion, courage, and leadership of Mr. Ganesh Kohli, Ms. Tushita Simon, Chief Operating Officer of Gateway Group Sri Lanka, will now present a special memento on behalf of the Directorate staff and students of the Gateway Group. It is a tribute to all that Ganesh has envisioned, created, and achieved, and to the global community he has built in guiding and empowering young people.
I think Ganesh has just moved out, so we'll continue. So before we close, we have a little something to get you all talking. As you step out, we have our student volunteers who will hand you a bookmark. Take a look at yours. Somewhere in the room, there's a person holding the other half. We'd like you to find your match, put the picture together, and use it as an excuse to introduce yourself and start a conversation. We have many first-timers with us today. So whether this is your first IC3 or your 10th, take a moment to meet someone new. Find your half, find a new connection, and let's get networking. What a remarkable way to begin the 10th annual IC3 Conference and Expo.
Over the next 2 days, we encourage you to engage deeply, ask questions, share ideas, and make meaningful connections.
And we'll now have, Gateway Group, Tosita Simon, Chief Operating Officer of the Gateway Group, Sri Lanka, to come and present the special memento. Thank you. Can we have a round of applause, please?
It's you. Yeah.
A few quick reminders before we conclude. Please keep your conference badge visible at all times. Please take your belongings. Don't leave them here in the room. Use the IC3 mobile app to stay updated on sessions, schedules, and announcements. Visit the Expo Hall and connect with our university and industry partners. Lunch will be served at the other end of the Expo Hall and also will be available on the second floor. The morning and afternoon snacks, along with tea and coffee, will be served at the Expo area towards the back end. In addition, tea and coffee will be available at multiple locations throughout the event for easy access. Thank you very much for being a part of this milestone year.
We wish you an enriching experience over the next 2 days.
Welcome to the 10th annual IC3 Conference and Expo.
Thank you.
Thank you.